This time we have two coffees for you from Halo in Ethiopia and Perez in Colombia. But before we start, we need some morning coffee. So let's get something in the cups.
Yes. Let's start with talking about the Halo coffees. So they're from south of Ethiopia, actually a bit further south than Yekatchev. It is called, the main region is Yekatchev, but it's off the tracks from Gedep, like a small town south of Yekatchev. And then you go to an even smaller town called Halo or Halo Perite. It is owned by some guys we've been working with for a while, Metad, the company is called. Here they work with 5,000 small farmers. They buy cherries off. The farmers are allowed to sell to whomever they want to, but what they do to ensure quality and to ensure that they get some good cherries is that they provide a lot of training for the farmers, and they also normally pay the highest price. The factory is down in an alley, but all the way around you have these mountains going up to 2,300, so it's super, super high.
And in Ethiopia, a lot of the coffee has been grown organically by default, basically because Ethiopia is the home origin of Arabica coffee. Its natural environment, its natural habitat. But also because a lot of the farmers realistically haven't been able to afford any farm inputs, such as chemical fertilizers or pesticides or fungicides and so on.
I think another reason is that the soil there is just so made for coffee. I mean, coffee grows there by default, as you say. You can drop a cherry and it will basically become into a plant.
So for you filter subscribers, we have chosen to do this coffee in two different roasts to showcase the impact of the roasting process on a coffee like this. And we think the Halo is a super interesting coffee to show this on because it's a very aromatic coffee. So depending on how you choose to roast that, you'll get different things out of it.
With a Halo coffee, I mean, for me, it's one of the most elegant coffees we have. So for us, in general, we would want to present it in a very mild and also just really highlight the florals and some of the citrus notes.
So that would be pushing the roast towards the lightest you can possibly do without underdeveloping the coffee.
At least in our minds, yes. Yeah. That's where we want it to be. But the cool thing is with a coffee like this, it has some acidity. And if you develop it more, you actually get a bit more pronounced acidity. Mm-hmm. You also get more sweetness. So you get more of a round and smooth cup, whereas I prefer it being more elegant personally. But there's nothing wrong with the other one. It's a beautiful coffee in both ways.
Yeah, and I think it probably also a little bit showcasing, if you buy coffees from different roasteries, what you might be getting as well. Because it is very much an interpretation. It's very much what are you looking for. We like to interpret a coffee like this in the way that we really want to bring, as you say, all the florals out to the highest possible degree. When it is a very floral and aromatic coffee, that's what we want to shine through. Yeah. And that means that then you will not have as much body, maybe not as much sweetness, in this case maybe not as much acidity. So if another roaster wanted a little bit more acidity and were willing to compromise and lose some of those florals, they would probably take it more to what you've done in the medium roast of this. Yeah. So it'll also be interesting to hear back from you, which of these two did you like the most?
Should we put a bit of some words on the taste?
Yeah, definitely.
Let's start with the light one.
Let's get a little bit more in those cups.
And it's good. So here I get citrus fruit and I get some floral notes like maybe lilac or really floral and just really refreshing.
It's a little bit like a flower shop. You get a lot of different impressions from rose hips to tulips and that kind of sensation of flowers and lilacs for sure. Really nicely, very lingering, and especially if you pay attention to what's called the retronasal aromas, the aromas that are released after you swallow the coffee. It's a very beautiful kind of sensation. You're sitting here and it's just like a very elegant aftertaste you're having.
Then the darker one?
Yeah.
So this is what we would call a medium roast. It is towards the darkest we would go and still call it a filter before we turn it more into an espresso profile.
But it's not tasting dark to me at all. It's very much like a medium. It's more balanced. But what actually surprises me is how much more I perceive just the acidity. To this point, we've actually developed a little more acidity, and if you go any darker, it'll drop dramatically. It's definitely more full-bodied as well. There's a slight heavier texture, also a little bit of a bitterness starting to come in compared to the other one. Yeah. If I was tasting this on my own, I probably wouldn't pick up any bitterness, but comparing it to the other one, I do. And that gives you a larger sense of mouthfeel as well. Yeah. And then it's also striking, if you go back to the first one, to the light one, you really can sense what you've lost, like the aromatic qualities, the delicate florals are gone from the medium roast, or at least a lot lower.
Yeah. Do yourself a favor and brew them both and taste them side by side, going back and forth. I think that's super fun. We have Halo espresso for you, espresso subscribers as well.
But just one roast, because here we didn't want to do the two kind of roasts, because we actually think they would be too similar.
Yeah. The other coffee is Perez from Colombia. It's a coffee from Tolima. I'm a really big fan of like single espressos from Colombia. I think the complexity that a lot of the coffees have is extraordinary for espresso. It's almost like a blend. You get both sweetness, you get fruit, you get the balance. It just has everything that I personally love in espresso, just in one coffee. So it's quite aromatic. We have some orange notes and mandarin, citrusy things going, so it can come out a bit sharp if you don't brew it perfect, but
of course you do. And it's a washed coffee grown at a pretty high elevation in Colombia, so it has that like very clean flavor as well from the wash process. And I think also as brewing it as espresso, if you keep it to a sensible ratio, 1-to-2 ish, then I think you'll have a really pleasing aromatic espresso, and we look forward to hearing what you think of it. Yeah. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for
We hope you will enjoy these coffees, and we'll see you next time.